everybody. Welcome back to Storytime with Miss B. We're going to wrap up our Three Little Bears and Goldilocks unit with our last story. Goldilocks returns. Now, I'm looking at her. She looks very different. She looks a lot older. So we'll have to find out what happens. Goldilocks Returns is written and illustrated by Lisa Campbell Ernst. So, I'm wondering. Let me show you the end pages because that kind of starts our story here. How many of you are wondering, is that Goldilocks? Goldilocks Returns. Here's the title page. As a child, she was known as Goldilocks, and she was very naughty indeed. Her favorite hobby was snooping in houses where no one was at home, until, of course, all that dreadful trouble with the bears. Then Goldilocks grew up, and the older she got, the worse she felt about her horrid behavior. She shortened her name and pinned up her curls so no one would recognize her. Goldie opened a shop to help people protect themselves against snoops. It's called Goldie's Locks and Keys. But no matter how she tried to leave her life of crime behind, it haunted her day and night. Goldie had nightmares about bears. She cried at the mere sight of a teddy bear. Her customers even began to look like bears. "I can't take it any longer," she sobbed at last. "It's time I set things right." Early one morning, Goldie loaded up her truck, turned her shop sign to closed, and zoomed off toward the deep, dark woods. At that very moment, the three bears whom she had scared out of their wits years before were sitting down to breakfast. There they were, Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and their son, who, though not a baby for some 50 years now, still went by the name Baby Bear. Due to the fright brought on by Goldilocks, he still had a wee little voice. Their breakfast, as usual, was porridge, and as it had been every day since any of them could remember, it was much too hot to eat. "Grab your hats," Papa Bear sighed, and the three unsuspecting bears left for their daily walk. No sooner had the bears left than Goldie screeched to a stop in front of their cozy cottage. "It hasn't changed a bit," she gasped. Goldie walked to the door and knocked. A smile crept across her face as she realized the bears again were not at home. She walked right in. "I'll fix that," she said, chuckling. With a drill in one hand and a screwdriver in the other, Goldie swung into action. She's wearing her tool belt, by the way. Moments later, the bear's door was laden with the finest in locking hardware, padlock, double bolt, and the secret anti-snoop lock she used in only the most serious case. "Won't they be delighted?" she crooned. She still broke in, didn't she? Next, Goldie headed for the kitchen. There sat the 3 bowls of porridge. "Ish," she said. It's the same goop as before." Goldie emptied the bowls in the sink. "They won't have to eat this nasty tasting stuff anymore." And she set out her special fat-free rutabaga breakfast bars and cans of tart and tasty celery juice. Goldie stocked the cabinets with enough breakfast bars and celery juice to last for months. While she was at it, she threw away any food she thought was unhealthy or didn't like herself. "Now to spruce this place up a little," Goldie announced, pulling out 3 bolts of pom-pom fringe and her staple gun. The results were stunning. Feeling better already, Goldie burst into the living room. "Egad," she cried when she saw what Baby Bear had made from the pieces of his broken chair. "Nothing a little hot glue can't fix." She whipped out her glue gun, and in no time the rocking horse was a chair again. Good as new, Goldie said. No, better. Now to fix those other ghastly chairs. Even after all these years, Goldie still judged Mama Bear's chairs too soft, Papa Bear's too hard. The stuffing was quickly moved from one chair to the other. Goldie hung hoity-toity drapes and scattered pillows and covered all the furniture with shiny plastic covers. Perfect at last, she declared. She's really changing their house, isn't she? Goldie raced up the stairs to the three bears' bedroom. Good gosh, she said, testing the beds of Papa Bear and Mama Bear. Just as I remembered, too hard, too soft. And before you could say Rip Van Winkle, he's a guy who liked to sleep. She had adjusted the stuffings to her finicky liking. Goldie sprayed ravishing roses perfume in the air and tied bouquets of plastic flowers around the room for a back-to-nature look. It's glorious, Goldie sang, falling back on Baby Bear's bed to admire the room. The bears will be so grateful. Suddenly, Goldie was exhausted, and once again, Baby Bear's bed was just right. Before she knew it, Goldie had drifted off to her most peaceful sleep in 50 years. Makes me think this Goldie's about my age. She should know better. The bears, meanwhile, were finally returning home from their walk. Seeing the truck, they began to worry. They hadn't had much luck with visitors in the past. What on... Papa Bear said, noticing the locks on the door. Then he heard Baby Bear squealing in the kitchen. Oh, no! Oh, my gosh! Oh, my heavens! He cried in his wee little voice. Look! Look! With jaws dropping and eyes popping, the two older bears did just that. Papa Bear snarled at the side of the table and bellowed in his big, deep voice, Someone's been taking my porridge. Mama Bear nodded. Someone has taken my porridge, she said in her medium-sized voice. And Baby Bear, discovering the mess in the sink, cried out in his wee little voice, Someone has taken my porridge and they've thrown it all away. Memory told the bears to race to the living room. It was a shocking sight. Papa Bear's knees buckled and he fell on his now poofy chair. Someone, he growled, bristling, has been fooling with my chair. Mama Bear tried hers and gasped, Hard as a rock, someone's been fooling with my chair. Ah! Baby Bear screeched, stomping up and down. Someone has been fooling with my chair and they put it back together. All three bears ran helter-skelter up the stairs. P.U. Baby Bear gagged. What's that smell? Ravishing roses, Mama Bear read, picking up the empty bottle from the floor. The two older bears did not even check their beds. They knew where to look. What they saw made their fur stand on end. Baby Bear began to tremble. She's back! He wailed, hoping it was all just a nightmare. Someone's been sleeping in my bed, and here she is again! At that moment, Goldie's eyes popped open. You're home! Goldie shouted, crushing each bear with a hug and kissing their furry cheeks. The shocked bears opened their mouths to protest, but Goldie raced away. Now, don't thank me. I know you're terribly grateful, but after all, I was the one that caused the trouble to begin with, and of course I'll more than made up for that. Goldie gleefully danced through the house, pointing out her deeds. Naturally, I fixed that stuffy, silly little chair, she said, and got rid of that nasty porridge. The rutabaga breakfast bars are fat-free, so you might even be able to lose that extra weight there, she chuckled, tapping Papa Bear on the stomach. A growl began to grow in Papa Bear's voice, but before he could get it out, Goldie tossed him the keys to her fancy locks, hugged them all again, and climbed in her truck and was off. "Wait! Come back!" yelled the bears, but it did no good. As her truck rounded a curve in the road, the bears saw a flash of gold. Goldie, smiling, unpinning her curls, and shook them out in the breeze. Sorry about that. Allergies. The dazed bears slowly turned back to their cottage, and they moved awkwardly about their fancy schmancy house. They couldn't eat, they couldn't get comfortable in their chairs, and so finally they went to bed. No one slept a wink. The next morning, the three exhausted bears sat at the kitchen table, miserably staring at their rutabaga breakfast bars and celery juice. "Maybe we should go for a walk," Mama Bear suggested, and they all ran for their hats. The three bears set off through the woods, relieved to be out of their house. But just then, Baby Bear spied something through the woods. It was a very mischievous-looking little girl skipping along the path that led straight to their cottage. "Oh, no!" he panicked. "Not this again! We didn't lock the door! Quick, stop her! She might eat our food! She might mess up the fancy thing! She might break my chair!" The bears began to run after the girl, but then they suddenly stopped. "Eat the food?" asked Mama Bear. "Mess up the fancy things?" asked Papa Bear. "Break my chair," repeated Baby Bear. And very slowly, they all smiled. And then, turning around, the bears happily continued on their walk. That's Goldilocks, by the way. And that's the end of Goldilocks Returns. And snip, snap, snap. Goldilocks stories are all told out. See you later.